himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy.
Fox News is no different from the Russian state media propaganda at this point. They literally censored the Nazi salute that Elon Musk did at the inauguration. Like, they censored it. How did they do that if it was live? Well, a majority of live broadcasts will run with a 10-second delay for producers to censor unsavory content for television, or if you wanted to change the narrative to fit your agenda. I asked this simple question: if it wasn't a Nazi salute, why did Fox Media censor it?
Thank you.
Doink! I have empathy for my fellow brothers and sisters in the West. We never had a chance to think for ourselves. We have constantly been pitted against each other for a very long time with ideological warfare, all in the name of printing money. If you grease the palm of the media, you control the message.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Now the juicy one that's gonna get you all pissed off at me. Culture war versus class war. Ah, shit. Here's another picture of a kitten. You've made it this far. Well done. I mean, well done. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. All right, it's getting a little intense.
Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Cause that's all we fucking know! Cause we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
It's time to get laid.
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 This is something that's been brewing for some time. Something I'd argue that's been hijacked by the likes of the MAGA cult and billionaires with ulterior motives like Elon Musk to achieve their end goals. In short, there has always been some form of a culture war. You can see the battle between conservative views and liberal views of the world throughout every decade since the 1950s. Back then, a conservative world was held back by religious dogma and tradition upheld by the state. You have to open up your history books and remember a time where rock and roll and Elvis was considered the devil. Imagine a world without all your favorite rock music and rap and indie schmindy stuff. That's a world that didn't stop thumping the Bible. You get it? They didn't progress forward. So basically, just imagine a world with all your favorite shit, including video games, violent video games, where it's like, nein, no more. Das ist against the Lord himself. The primitive tribal mindsets of either being a part of the left or right agendas in America and the West is too limiting to someone who identifies as an individual. So don't tar me with the same brush as any of these groups. I'm objectively looking at the cultural climate and how it's been manipulated for political gain. In the 2010s, there was indeed a quote-unquote woke movement. I say was because I truly think the worst of that energy is buried and gone. And in replacement of it is a new era of idiocracy where doing the Zig Heil is a gesture of love. Open fingers, it's a gesture of love. Get real. To go back on track, the woke movement was a highly charged clapback by minorities of the world, whether it be women, gays, black people, brown people, slightly brown people, and olive people. I'm a minority, right, guys? I've experienced racism. I'm half Italian. I'm olive. I count too, right, guys? Fuck it. Let's be real. I'm a white dude. I'm not a fucking idiot. But you get the idea. Minorities started movements for fairer treatment in the world and the workplace. Because let's be real, these people were marginalized and subjugated by white men. It doesn't mean we all have to live with guilt and, especially future generations like my generation who didn't partake in any of this. We just have to balance the scales and treat each other equally. It's not that fucking complicated. The civil rights movement wasn't even that long ago. And I'm saying this to the hyper-liberal people, and I'm saying it to the fucking idiots in the right. I hate the talking about left and right. It's just such a chimp, primitive way to view things. Sorry, Harry. I didn't mean to be insensitive to you people. What do you mean, you people? No, I didn't mean it like that, man. But of course, people take it too far and abuse it, like the Me Too movement, where there were men being wrongfully accused of sexual assault because a narcissistic woman had a bad date or a bad breakup, and so they decided to end the guy's life publicly, using a movement for their own end. People fucking suck. And ultimately, Bad Eggs turned a movement about equality into an energy that felt fascist in its own right, with cancel culture. Disney didn't help with the cultural climate by aggressively pushing the current cultural energy of the day to produce money, or at least what they thought they would produce money with.
I can't actually remember the last time you were the one risking something. And by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing the name to ex-women.
But where there is a culture, there is a counterculture, and of course, the rise of the conservative content creators rose to prominence. Thus began the fight against the woke mind virus. An example of such countercultures would be creators like The Critical Drinker, who have made an entire business online by playing B-roll footage of a Disney film and then stating the obvious over and over again about women and the message. It became a winning formula, and he has made the same video every week for the past 4 years. I enjoyed his early content because he wasn't wrong about Disney. Where he went wrong is when he turned it into a grift and it became about a message all of its own. He identifies as an entertainment critic, but I would say he's political propaganda at this point.
Critical Drinker is one of the most watched TV and movie critics on YouTube. He is known for his honest takes on woke ideology in the media. Today we talk about how politics has ruined Hollywood.
Now, it might have come to your attention that there was an election in America this week.
And talk about the complete destruction of entertainment with Critical Drinker. Thanks for joining me.
Cheers, sir.
What made me realize he's a grifter though, was when he made a video about the movie Prey, a female-led movie in the Predator franchise, lambasting it as a woke agenda movie doomed to fail. All these assumptions made based on a trailer.
Oh look, he changed it. It used to be called Prey, How to Ruin a Good Premise, and instead it says Prey trailer doesn't look great. I didn't notice he changed the title. Interesting.
The movie releases, and to his surprise, the nerds actually loved it. It was a good action flick, and he was belittled by some of his fans for jumping the gun. And when he releases his review, he changes the title to tone down his heavy-handedness with it all because people were taking the piss out of him. I don't know what the modern definition of a grifter is in 2025, but for me, that exact behavior is that.
Well, it's better than the Predator, the weird attempts at the heavy-handed female empowerment pandering.
Truly, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, and in this case, the one-eyed man happens to be Prey, yet another entry in the long, tragic decline of a once awesome franchise. But the difference here is that Prey is a prequel, you see, a prequel about a young Native American girl who has to defy her tribal traditions in order to take on a nearly invincible hunter from another world. Because, if elite special forces operatives, hard-boiled detectives, and entire squads of specially trained government agents can't stop these things, then a 100-pound teenage girl is definitely going to make the difference.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find unusual, and it's not a criticism so much, but his targets are underdogs. And comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs. And, he ought to be careful because he's Jewish. And a lot of the people who want to pick on these kind of groups, the Jews are on that list. A little further, you got women, gays, gypsies, blah, 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 and then suddenly you find Jews. And
suddenly Andrew's arrested.
Yeah, so, obviously he should do what he wants. And
why does he get away with it, do you think, then? Well, we have never laughed at jokes about the
Well, he's appealing. I think he's appealing largely. I think his core audience are young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure of their manhood because that's a problem when you're going in through adolescence. Could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs and and the
So that's why we as an audience then will laugh.
You say we, I don't think you're
but
I think you're
collective we.
I think that's what is at the core of that experience that takes place in these arenas. There's a certain, a sharing of anger and rage at these targets. And I'm sure Andrew isn't that angry at them. I'm sure he's playing it as a comic.
With channels like his becoming so highly charged and clearly building engagement with YouTube comments and Twitter responses, it became a winning formula and a meal ticket for wannabe influencers to jump on the next cultural bandwagon, which of course is now fighting this so-called woke mind virus. The wild conspiracy where the gay community is coming after you and your kids, when in the big picture, outside of the noise of the internet, it just isn't that big of a threat to modern civilization as people are making it out to be.
Because I think the future of America and the future of civilization is at stake.
And this is coming from a person who sees silly shit coming from both sides of the fence. You know what I'm getting at? Like, I'm speaking as an individual here. I'm not siding up with anyone. I'm not trying to get any, kudo points with the gay community. I'm not trying to get any points with the guys fighting the woke agenda. I'm just objectively looking at things here. And I can tell you one thing though, in my life, I've never had a gay person, a trans person, or a brown person attack me in my life. Like physically. But as you heard earlier in the video, I have been attacked multiple times by white supremacists. I dare say, I think I know what is an existential threat to my life. And it ain't the fucking gays or the trans people.
Something amiss?
You know how people refer to the queer communities, like the trans or the gays or whatever? What are we gonna refer all these idiots as? You know, all these closet racists and just I don't know, incels that are just they're 50s, they're divorced, and they're on the internet terminally online, and they're just going down these rabbit holes where everyone else is to blame for their life. Do we call them the fuckwit society? I don't understand. Freddie Mercury made great music, right, guys? Did you ever see him try and forcefully ram his dick down someone's throat? I didn't. But again, I've had neo-Nazis try and fucking force their fist in my face, so sorry if I seem like I'm being a bit full on here. Speaking of grifting, something happened to Joe Rogan. He went from this centrist podcaster type of guy who would invite interesting people and give them a platform to discuss their life and their work unfiltered, without corporate ceremony. Over time, his influence became greater.
Come get some pussy.
And he made a shift to constantly spouting mega cult sound bites.
Do you think that they'll take Canada in to be the 51st or 2nd state?
I think we take Canada and then we go right into Mexico.
Let's fucking go.
Everybody
Mexican.
keeps sneaking over. How about we just let them stay here instead of trying to let all the bad stuff in? How about we make this totally locked down safe and then expand safety?
The app tells them where they should take their load of illegal migrants from the Congo. We have a lot from the Congo, prisons in the Congo. I made a little bit of a sarcastic joke. A man named Dana White, who you love, who I love. I assume you love him.
Love that dude.
I told Dana White of UFC, I said, here's what we're going to do. These are tough cookies coming into our country, coming with prisons and mental institutions. I said to Dana White, UFC, he's got a big fight going on right now. He's a good friend of mine. I think he's in a class by him.
He's probably the reason why you're here.
I have an idea for you to make a lot of money. You're going to go and start a new migrant fight league. Migrants, only migrants. And then at the end of the year, the champion migrant is going to fight your champion. I don't know, maybe.
He's one of the big ones.
He is the greatest guy. I always say, nobody's indispensable. Everybody can be replaced. Maybe you can't be. You might not be.
So when did Rogan become a full MAGA cultist? I'd argue it's when the mainstream media chewed him up over wanting to stick horse dewormer up his arsehole. To cure COVID, because medical specialists, scientists, and doctors, they don't actually know what they're talking about. Something deep state conspiracy. I'd argue if you wanted to kill a large portion of the population, you just let them die by the virus. Why bother giving them the cure? Hey guys, I like my conspiracy theories too, but I don't know, it just seems flawed. Fuck it. That's the catchphrase of this year. Just fuck it. It seems that he took that personally, and he shifted to a vindictive mindset towards fighting the woke mind virus.
Information technology weapon to propagate what is essentially a mind virus to the rest of Earth. And the outcome of that mind virus is very clear if you walk around the streets of downtown San Francisco. It is the end of civilization.
And it's not just propagating the mind virus, but suppressing any opposing viewpoints.
Yes. Well, in order for the virus to propagate, it must suppress opposing viewpoints. So,
because it doesn't stand up to scrutiny.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Rogan has now joined America's culture war and picked a team in the war of us versus them. Literally, I guess. A war versus they, them.
These poor that are stuck in the fog of woke.
However, my issue is when Joe Rogan becomes a puppet of propaganda. It's one thing to have beliefs and stand by them, but it's another to spread disinformation and lies, and when presented with reality, begin to warp it to fit whatever his narrative is.
Well, there's people that voted for Biden that are doing it now. They're like, what did I do?
Right.
Like, what did I choose? Like, how is this guy?
Yeah, you just can't listen to an interview where he's saying some of the stuff he says that just makes no sense at all. It's like you can't listen to those interviews and feel like you made a good decision. I don't know how you could.
Did you hear what he said like yesterday or a couple days ago? He was talking about the Revolutionary War. He's like, one of the reasons why we lost the Revolutionary War, one of the problems with the Revolutionary War was they didn't have enough airports.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I saw that.
Like, what? Like, pull him.
It's crazy.
If you had any other job and you were talking like that, they would go, hey, you're done.
A few moments later.
The same stable genius that said the biggest problem we had in the Revolutionary War is we didn't have enough airports. Whoa.
Yeah, that's it.
Whoa.
Right. What?
Just for the record.
Is that fake?
It's not fake, but he was referencing Trump saying that. Here's what Trump saying it in 2019. Donald Trump said something about that. He didn't say Jesus. He said a stable genius, and that's where the transcription.
Let me hear what it says. What did he say?
In June of 1775, the Continental Congress created a unified army out of the revolutionary forces encamped around Boston and New York, and named after the great George Washington, Commander-in-Chief. The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he fucked up.
Yeah, he did. But I feel like that's you can tell too. It sounds like a little different. He's like, you can tell he like messed up his words, but yeah, he's just I don't know.
Took over the airports.
Well, that's the thing about media these days. It's like you got to look into it.
Hey, since when did we start taking life and like political advice?
Yeah. He's just I don't know.
From these guys that like these broadcasters that took one too many blows to the face.
Yeah, put him out. Put him out.
Like, half these guys are clearly suffering from concussion. It doesn't seem like Rogan has as many intellectual guests on as he used to in the previous decade.
Where is consciousness? What's the line of consciousness and not consciousness between hydrogen and here?
Right, when do we call it? When do we call it consciousness? I was watching a video today that we played on a podcast earlier of a monkey riding a motorcycle down the street, jumps off the motorcycle and tries to steal a baby.
Yeah, I saw that one.
These days, it's hack fraud comedian suckling on his teat for that sweet mothership spot, and a bunch of UFC dudes with one or two teeth left to knock out that'll give Joe Rogan the perfect blowjob, or as Trump would put it, an immaculate blowjob, a perfect blowjob, the finest blowjob. No one has blown Rogan any finer.
But we'll do it again. I want to do it again with you.
Okay.
You are something.
I think it was great. It was a lot of fun.
You are a fascinating guy, and you've done a great job.
Thank you very much.
I'm a big fan, and thank you very much. It's been an honor.
I'm friends with Elon Musk, which is the intellectual equivalent of a boy and his dog. That guy's so much smarter than me. You know when you're around your dog's like, you're different, tell me what to do. That's me. I'm like, when they land, you'll tell them I'm cool?
Joe Rogan has made it abundantly clear that he is the dog in Elon's relationship with him. Let's take a gander at when Joe Rogan witnesses Elon Musk put the zig back in the aisle. You know, Like influencers trying to bring the flares back from the 70s in modern fashion.
We were talking about the Elon gaffe, where he's like, my heart goes out to you.
So
Like, hey,
silly.
don't do that, though.
Man, Joe, man, like, he's literally, like, the mental gymnastics, man. He's downplaying this, like...
That's the perfect example of when you see a story, you believe it's true. If you believe he's a Nazi, you're going to see him do a silly hand gesture and see that as that.
Well, he's saying my heart goes out to you. But that is how the Nazis did it.
Yeah.
Like, if you see the clip, right, there's closed fingers, he slaps his chest. I mean, I can't do it. I don't want to replicate it, do I, right? He slaps it, and then he's like... He makes that sound where he's almost like coming in his pants, right? Like Elon. And like Joe's making it out like he's like open fingers, gently tapping his chest, smiling. It's an act of love. That is scary because it's not just tribalism and my team versus your team. That is like propaganda. It is a manipulation of reality, a distortion of reality to fit your narrative. That is fucked. I mean, if you're judging by his face as well, Elon, like if you play that clip over and over again, you can tell he's been practicing that moment for some time. You know, like it's a big F you to all the people that challenged him along the way to usurping America's throne. It just...
So there's this guy who has not put his arm down in like some insane amount. His arm is like shriveled, it's useless. It's a devotion to Lord Shiva. His right arm is essentially completely useless. It just stays like that. It doesn't move anymore. Yeah, 1973, decided to raise his right arm 90 degrees to the air. His fingers have withered to the palm of his hand. His knuckles are white with rot, and his nails have grown long and twisted. Well, he's a Nazi.
Oh, I didn't make that connection. I was like, why are you...
I mean, even his bullshit guest doesn't even get the relevance. He's like, I get it. I get what... yeah, well, I didn't understand what the...
Oh, I didn't make that connection. I was like, why are you...
That guy's doing a Nazi salute forever.
I didn't think about that.
That's how dedicated he is to being a Nazi.
Just connected.
Rogan's grasping at straws here, fellas.
He won't even put the hand down. He's all in.
He's pulling at anything to justify the Nazi salute.
Fascism is real, folks. Here it is. My heart goes out to you. It's just weird. It's illogical and weird, but it's a sign of this thing that is a real problem in today, where people will pretend something is something other than what it is if it suits their narrative.
Right.
And that's what this is.
Yes. Power story.
Yeah, the power of story. That really truly is a great example of the power of story. Because the story that everyone's afraid of is that this right-wing dictator has gotten into power and he's brought with him this billionaire oligarch who happens to be one of the richest men, if not the richest person on the planet Earth, and this guy is secretly a Nazi.
Yeah,
and he's been hiding it all these days until Trump got in office.
It'd make a great movie.
Let's go.
Yeah. It'd make a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Joe Rogan is compromised. He is no better than Russian state media propaganda or Fox News for this matter. I mean, his rhetoric towards Ukraine and the invasion, the brutal invasion that they're going through, is insane. It's like when the bully makes out the victim is to blame, or like when a woman's walking across, he's walking in the city and she's assaulted, and it's like, what was she wearing?
Я почула це.
A major city in the south of the country, very close to the front lines, was hit. More than a dozen.
Okay, Hugo Bashega there, our correspondent in Kyiv.
If Ukraine is forced to surrender its own sovereign territory to Russia, it will be the greatest betrayal of a European ally since Poland in 1945.
continuing with the analogy, the thing which people forget is that when 1939 comes, when Germany invades Poland, it's invading Poland with the resources of Czechoslovakia, with Czechoslovak wealth, Czechoslovak arms, Slovak soldiers, different geographical position. If there is a wider war after Ukraine is, God forbid, defeated, then it will be a different Russia with a different level of resources from a different geographical position. We won't be in the situation we're in now, where it seems like Ukrainians are holding Russia back. We'll be in a different situation where we're facing a much stronger and much more confident Russia. So as far as holding back this wider war, it's a very simple equation. The West has to do whatever it can to make sure that Ukraine wins.
The amount that we have sent to Ukraine, propping up not only their military, but their government, their economy, etc., when they're taking that money, that's like coming directly out of the U.S. taxpayer pocket. And nobody reported on any of this until Zelensky fired people. And then we were allowed to be like, yeah, there's some problems with corruption there, maybe a little bit. Maybe we should like worry a little bit about where the weapons are going and what exactly is happening there. But before then, you weren't allowed to say it.
The whataboutism is insane, especially with that political minefield that they're all navigating. The world is navigating right now. People pluck out like one or two people or a corrupt politician from that region and go, yeah, see, that's what's going on. I'm telling you now, you could take a microscope to Australia, to America, to the United Kingdom, and there'll be neo-Nazis everywhere, corrupt politicians everywhere. You would find every justification to invade that nation and then steal their resources and subjugate their people.
Thank God there's people like you guys out there, because there's so many people that they have Ukraine in the same category of importance and significance as they do climate change. Climate change, which is a real thing, but it's a politically divisive alleyway where you're not allowed to veer from the course and even look at any kind of science. It's the same thing with Ukraine. A support for Ukraine is undeniable. You must put it in your Twitter bio. And you guys are saying, you're not saying don't support Ukraine, but you're saying, look where this is going. Do you understand what this is? Because you can't just openly support something you don't understand.
Виходь! Так, от кидай! Давай, проходь туда! Давай, проходь!
It's not waste time. It's really very important, I think, diplomatic investment for the future, just and lasting peace for Ukraine.
You said Putin doesn't want peace. I mean, you just said it loud and clear here.
It's true.
So what is the dialogue? And have you convinced the Americans that A, Ukraine has to be at the table, and B, I guess the Europeans have to convince them that they have to be
on all the levels, we directly, yes, very directly send these messages that we have to prepare security guarantees like a main part of the stopping Putin and stop this war, and very important, essential, and we say that it can't be without us, and that's why I don't know if we don't have, from my point of view, if we don't have for today common plan, it means for me that United States doesn't have, because if they have something, it's not about us.
And that's LA, and that's New York, and that's a lot of places that got fucked up by incompetent people.
I don't know. I just feel safer knowing, like,
pull this microphone.
I feel safer knowing that Trump is in office.
I do too.
I feel great about it. Like, I just like.
What I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out? Like, the people don't want you to be there anymore. There should be like some sort of a pause for like significant actions that could potentially start World War III. Maybe that would be a good thing that we would like to avoid from a dying former president. Mm-hmm. The whole thing is nuts.
I mean, look, I don't know shit about politics.
Zelensky says Putin is terrified. Fuck you, man. Fuck you people. You fucking people are about to start World War III.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Russia fired a missile today.
They fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time ever. It's the first time one of those has ever been used.
Insanity.
F***ing insanity, because those intercontinental ballistic missiles can have nukes on them. This one didn't, but if it does, the whole world changes, and it changes because of the military-industrial complex, and it changes because of the money that's going to Ukraine, and it changes because the outgoing president, or whoever the fuck is actually running the country, has decided to do something f***ing insane. F***ing insane. And we're all sitting there watching it, and people are cheering it on. CNN was saying, like, finally, see what their headline was about about Biden giving Zelensky the ability to use long-range missiles. U.S. made long-range. It's not like nobody knows where they came from. It's not like nobody knows we've been funding this. It's a proxy war. The whole thing is fucking insane. It's insane. Come to the negotiation table. Sit down. Work this out. Stop killing everybody. U.S. allows Ukraine to use long-range missiles. So what did they say? Someone had said that, like, CNN was saying that it was a good thing, which I think is how has the left gone so far crazy that they think it's a good thing to launch missiles? That's what's scary about life, is like you don't want to pay attention to that shit. You just want to live your life. You want to just be carefree and have fun and do the thing that you're passionate about. And meanwhile, the world is burning. And
you can't do anything about it. It's like at that high level, it's like there's nothing.
Well, we can. We voted Trump in, and his idea is to stop all this shit, and hopefully he can do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, man. We got 60 more days until Trump gets in, or whatever it is. How many days is it, Jamie? Putin's terrified. God damn it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Poor Putin. Oh. All right, so the Ukrainians should just be and then once Russia restocks all of their resources and conscripts all of the males of Ukraine into their army and then proceeds to invade all of Europe, maybe they'll be worried too. Oh, God, man, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?
Also, Zelensky, can I get a drug test? The highest I have ever been on a podcast was with Be Real. I'm so high I already stopped smoking. I'm just going, let me off.
You are cooked, Joe Rogan. You are nothing but a Russian bot, and I don't know why you have done this, why you've become this person.
Commonly used, even in Native American culture, as like cardinal points, right? This is north, south, east, and west. So this could be a symbol for the passage of time.
Why not just have a cross then? Up, down, left, and right.
Isn't it crazy that a geometric pattern is evil? Yeah. And not just a geometric pattern, but a mustache. It's funny. It's
deeply offensive.
It's funny. It's fucking crazy. It is. Like, your beard is fine. Nobody has any problems with it. But imagine, like, if like, oh, you have a wizard beard. You believe in child sacrifice. You piece of shit. Yeah. You know, like, it's crazy. It's very strange what we've done, and obviously that's how horrific Hitler was. What they can do now is they can translate like Hitler's speech. They've got Hitler's speeches that Hitler gave in German. And you get to see it in English, and you're like, oh.
That I have worked, that I have advocated for you in these years. I have spent my time in service of my people. Now cast your vote. If yes, then stand up for me as I have stood up for you.
When you see those things, those speeches, I thought it was all like, we gotta exterminate the Jews. That's not what he's saying.
Like, I genuinely thought he was cool for a while. That makes me feel awkward to say that, because I never thought he was a funny comedian, but I never thought he would turn into a Russian bot. Now look, I can forgive Joe Rogan for being a dog shit comedian.
All of a sudden, crazy people just went away like the flu during COVID. Like, oh, it just got absorbed in the numbers. Suddenly, every man in a dress is stunning and brave. It's like, trans women are women. How about most? How about almost all? You gotta leave room for crazy.
Declare yourself.
I can forgive Joe Rogan for being blasted out of his mind on weed and alcohol while he's pushing politics to a large audience.
I just want everyone to know, if you're like, no one should have this amount of influence. No one should be able to say things that affect politics and social ideas. You're right. I agree with you.
Right.
I didn't want to do this.
Right.
This is a weird thing.
Yeah.
I can even forgive Joe Rogan for being wrong and owning up to it.
But the State of the Union was not live, and
yes, it was.
No, did you see that they found out that it wasn't? That they looked at his watch, and his watch was...
no.
Yeah. Do a State of the Union analysis, Biden's watch.
No way.
Yeah, someone zoomed in on his watch, and his watch was the wrong time.
How could that even be?
Well, it could be he's blind. You can't see what
But
time his
all the
fucking
networks
watch
on
is. I don't know what they knew. How do you know what they knew? You get a feed. You know?
I don't think all the Republicans would agree to it, too.
Who knows what they knew? What do you need? They're all there live while he's doing it?
Yeah. You got Mike Johnson behind you. You got them all in the audience crossing their hands when they don't like what you say. It's got to be live.
But I can't forgive Joe Rogan for being a bullshitter. I don't know why he's selling out his country. He has more money than he can spend in 100 lifetimes, and he's bending the knee, polishing the knob, doing the double hand gok, if you will, or a fascist oligarch like Elon Musk and a felon like Donald Trump, and I don't even know if he's been compromising on the payroll for Vladimir Putin. Gotta keep the voice down for the YouTube AI. They tend to like flag channels as like Ukraine or Russia, like propaganda. Just whispering the words.
When you see something like that, you go, well, maybe it's like fun that they do it, that nobody knows they do it.
Joe, I don't really want to be put on the spot, man. Like with the whole Elon Musk thing, you know what I mean? Like the salute, man.
Like maybe it's like one of those rituals where you get together, your dad thinks it's hilarious, and you both put your hoods on, you go out there and you burn the owl, or you burn the sticks in front of the owl. And what's fun is that you're not supposed to be doing it, and it's a secret, but nothing really is happening. That's also on the table. It's possible.
Well, I really want to thank you, Joe, for letting me come on your platform because, as you know, I've been out of the ring for a little too long, since I took a couple hits to the head. And in that time, while I was recuperating and rehabilitating, I was writing this book, How to Be an Alpha. Get money, get bitches.
It's kind of both things, right?
It got me thinking about a lot of things, about life itself and what it all means. You know what, man? I took your advice, man. You gave me that text about injecting horse steroids directly into my asshole, and I have seen a difference in my outlook on life.
Imagine if you have an Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
And they make you go through a bunch of waivers. And they say, if you do...
Joe, I was talking about the book.
What happens is you become a woman who actually feels the way a woman feels when she's attracted to a man. And a guy with a dick like a battering ram. He's gonna send it home. You can't wait. You want to feel him come inside your upper rib cavity, like. Yeah, the weakest among us should be scared of that experience.
I can dance on that. Joe, I thought you invited me on to shit on the trans, man. Outside of Joe Rogan, I think a great influence on impressionable people would be Asmongold in the gaming space, who's turned to grifting MAGA cult soundbites as well in the political space. Something that he has farmed way more engagement and made more money than making gaming content ever would on platforms like YouTube and Twitch. And YouTube in particular, his content is constantly being pushed to the front page of gaming and politics because it's always stoking angry comments and engagement. So YouTube loves that. That's what more people are watching, more advertisers, but obviously, like the content has no substance, and for a long time he built an empire by uploading other people's videos, reaction content, just sitting there nodding, going,
The majority right now says there's no place in this bill that says it opens up.
That is not content, and he built an empire on it, and now he's turned into this MAGA cult the microphone, and it's really scary because he says some wild shit that normalizes the wild shit.
It's way worse. Way worse. What the f are you comparing? Well, I just compared saying the N-word to being a cuck, right? I mean, that's clearly what I just compared. You gonna tone police me? You gonna tell me I shouldn't say that because it's like, oh, you shouldn't say that? Too bad I said it. It's funny. If you're not laughing, then you're in the wrong place. Sounds like you're gonna cry. You're gonna get mad. Too bad we do this. Traditional values, yeah. Is it worse than being a Nazi? Is being a cuck worse than being a Nazi on the internet? Yeah, it is.
We are doomed. We are doomed. We are doomed. No, guys. I didn't. Here's the deal. I just wanted to play dumbass video games and just keep my head down and watch the world burn. But I have to make fun of it now because it's my only way. It is my Girth. Wild Artemis. It's my only way to physically cope and mentally cope with what is going on around me. The idiocracy, the mental deficiency, dude, this is getting insane. This is getting insane. And before you're like, well, it's just the idiots, or it's just the minority. Bro, this is the biggest content creator on Twitch. This is just insanity, dude.
Is being a cuck worse than being a Nazi on the internet? Yeah. Yeah, it is.
What would you rather be, a cuck or a Nazi? A cuck. They're not mutually exclusive. Oh god. Everything just being completely unmoderated and like idiocracy just taking over, then normalizes like neo-Nazism, then it normalizes fascist ideals, and then it normalizes camps, then it normalizes this, because we unfortunately live in a system right now where the education system is failing people, and we have grifters and influencers targeting the vulnerable people and fucking with their heads. That is why this is scary, because this just all leads to dark roads. And I'm trying not to scare you guys watching this, but I have to take the piss out of this. This has gone silly. This is just educationally subnormal at this point. This is just wild. I don't know. Unfortunately, unmoderated, these content creators like him are going to normalize all of this insane shit more and more, and the whataboutism.
If I were you, I'd also support deportation of illegal immigrants, especially those committed crimes. It's only reasonable. For fucking sure, like you, I'm fed up with Hollywood pushing its agenda to make it look like every second person in the world belongs to a sexual minority. Yep, true. I stopped watching American TV about 5 years ago. It becomes unbearable. Like you, I'm fed up with blatant racism from woke people. I'm guilty because I'm a white man, even if I have nothing to do with slavery. Absolutely fucking true. If I were you, I'd also support auditing the overgrown governmental apparatus. True again. This guy is farming truths. Even I, as an outsider, think that the U.S. is monstrous. I'm sure money is wasted. Yes, absolutely. I could go on about internal changes, but what Trump does externally in his foreign policy, I cannot understand and accept most of what he does. So you're a Ukrainian. Of course you don't, because he's not favorable towards Ukraine, it seems, right? At least if you look at it from certain perspectives. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this at all. Yeah, why help Ukraine fight Russia? Forgotten Russia has been your arch enemy for decades. Yeah, I don't think that's really worked out for either one of us, but yeah, that's technically true.
It's very true. The guy who uses a dead rat as an alarm clock, that guy is the voice of reason for millions across America and, dare I say it, the world.
Get him out of my... What are you doing, bro? Get out of my... Go in the garbage cans.
Get the dead rat out? I don't need to anymore. It doesn't smell bad. The thing is, I used to use a dead rat as an alarm clock, actually, for my stream. Because basically what happened was, whenever the sun would come up, it would start cooking the corpse of the rat, and then it would start smelling again, and then the smell would wake me up. So I would use the rat effectively as an alarm clock, and as soon as it got hot enough, it would wake me up, and then I would know, oh shit, it's time to stream.
And it is utterly fucking insane. If a fan of his is watching this and they get angry, say what you want. Call me a clout chaser or angry at him or jealous or something like that. But that guy's normalizing wild shit, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And if you don't think it is, then you're probably a part of that crowd, and well done. You're on that side of history. I hope you feel good about it.
I think the Holocaust probably happened. I think probably 99% certainty it happened.
Wait, that's Asmongold? I've never seen him outside of his room.
Or they tried not to even make eye contact.
That guy?
Shall see me.
Yeah. No drama. I'm not afraid to say it. I shall follow your idiot. I just can't stand
Lock the door immediately.
Anyway, there are so many other grifters and hustlers that have pushed the MAGA cult movement to their audience that either should know better or don't know any better at all because they're too busy sniffing Andrew Taint's ass stains on a chair.
I have the biggest dick in the world. Now let me explain to Twitch first why I have the biggest dick in the world. Obviously I'm top G. You know girls don't like big dicks, right? Shut up and listen. Is that what they say to you?
Donated $1. I've been in a wheelchair for 15 years, Aiden, and my friend just showed me your stream tonight. I just wanted to say thank you for making me get out of my wheelchair to turn your stream off.
You know what I mean? And it took me a while to understand that, and you know it did.
I think this counterculture movement has been targeted propaganda at the young crowd, the youth, if you will, and the impressionable glue sniffing crowd. There's plenty of older people that spout this utter shit and nonsense. And unfortunately, it's worked very efficiently. These grifters have trained a generation of people to act like cult-like fanatics following their messiahs to the very bitter end and defending any heinous shit with whataboutisms. That is where we're at in this timeline. Congratulations, you've made it to this point of the video. Here's another picture of a cute kitten. He's a Nazi and he loves Hitler. Jewish people actually, at least he's throwing shade everywhere, right guys, right? Elon stole my Nazi swag at the inauguration. Yo, my guy, get your own third rail. Third rally. Oh my god, bro. This is the new norm and sad, to be honest. Yeah, man. Yeah, Ronnie. I don't know what to say to you, dude. Whataboutisms? Well, I got one for you. An example of such would be people making claims of, how could Elon Musk be a white supremacist or an anti-Semite? He visited Auschwitz with an American Jew. One, Ben Shapiro, of all people, does not represent all of the Jewish people of the world or America. Two, Elon Musk did that visit as a photo op, specifically after advertisers continued to leave Twitter, now known as X. He walked around dead-faced with his now human shield that he takes everywhere, and after saying some fluff about how he couldn't put into words the gravity of what happened in Auschwitz, he immediately went on to PR damage control with his platform X. How appropriate.
Magnitude of the tragedy that I witnessed was the place where the tragedy occurred. Well, I think it'll take a few days to sink in, frankly. The outside audits that we've had done, at least the ones that we've had done, show that there was the least amount of anti-Semitism on X. If you look at all the other social, it's never going to be zero. If you've got 600 million people on a platform, expecting it to be anything to be zero is extremely unlikely because you've got 600 million people on a platform.
Advertisers were leaving after neo-Nazi rhetoric became normalized on the platform. Instead of dealing with the problem, he told them to go f*** themselves.
I hope they stop. Don't advertise.
Clear yourself.
You don't want them to advertise? No. What do you mean? If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
I am yours to command.
So of course they did. And then he sued them for actually f***ing off. Isn't this like despot behavior and just unhinged? Why would you trust this person with unlimited and ultimate power? You did see the video gaming cheating scandal video, right? You did watch that, right? That's friggin' unhinged. What is going on? And what the f*** is with his obsession in the letter X? What is with these ideological dudes with extreme views and their love of symbolism? It kind of reminds me of hostile foreign entities have been fueling the fire for decades now, particularly the last decade. China has their interests, but another country, I won't name for algorithmic reasons, let's call it Mordor. Not to demonize an entire nation of people complicit in state-sanctioned violence and terrorism, but Mordor does happen to be sending countless waves of orcs invading and killing innocent people in its neighbor country right now. So it seems very apt to call the place Mordor, even if it's just to avoid YouTube's AI systems, flagging this video as sensitive content. So don't see it as hateful speech. A spade's a spade, right? Mordor's oligarchy and Sauron himself have been using this little playbook to destabilize the West for quite some time. It's called Foundations of Geopolitics. I'll read a little bit of it. Mordor should use its special services within the borders of the United States and Canada to fuel instability and separatism against neoliberal globalist Western hegemony, such as, for instance, provoke Afro-American racists to create severe backlash against the rotten political state of affairs in the current present-day system of the United States and Canada. Mordor should introduce geopolitical disorder into internal American activity, encouraging all kinds of separatism and ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements, extremist, racist, and sectarian groups, thus destabilizing internal political processes in the US. It would also make sense simultaneously to support isolationist tendencies in American politics. Holy shit, Batman! Are we noticing a trend with online bots in comments online? You know, like feeding into the culture war of us versus them? The manosphere versus the woke agenda mind virus? Now, during school, I wasn't a perfect A-grade student. I enjoyed clowning around a lot of the time. Like during IT class, I would unplug my mouse and put it in the computer tower of the person next to me. And with a cheeky little side eye, I'd slowly shift their cursor on their PC with my mouse as they were doing work to mess with their head. I couldn't help myself. Shit was too funny, and naturally I failed those classes. But in history class, I was obsessed. And we had a lot of modules on propaganda, and in particular during World War II. During the war, the Axis forces and the Allies would use planes to dump propaganda papers all over towns behind enemy lines to mess with the population's perception of what was real or not. What I'm seeing in the West is a lot of division fueled by AI and bot farms, used by obvious bad actors in the West, but also outsiders such as China, and particularly Mordor, who are pulling the same tricks. You ever notice that profile picture of a bikini babe and their name is Sanjeev1337? And they write stuff like, "Speaking as a mother, I would never dare vote for Biden because he wants World War III with Mordor." The bikini tits profile pics are usually the giveaway, but some go deeper, where they've built an online personality and you can't really tell what's a bot or not unless you follow this content of that they're posting for days, weeks, months on end. These personas become harder to detect to the naked eye. Remember, not everyone is real on the internet now in 2025. Unfortunately, this has played a big part in the Western world shifting towards fascism, and that's propaganda. Change is slow and then very sudden. For some reason, a lot of people on both sides of the political spectrum cannot fathom just how fast and how abrasive the new American oligarchy are moving. They are actively stripping the United States clean as we speak. However, I'll get more into that in Chapter 3. Right now, I want to make a quick note about why history is important. It's cliche, but I'll remind you of this quote. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Now, we live in an idiocracy where we can't really trust anything on the internet anymore, and I'm not 100% who said that. I think it was Jennifer Lawrence.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie.
Oh, shut up, you silly bitch.
Somebody has to save our skins.
That's the kind of shit that gave this like MAGA cult stuff ammunition. You know, the zealots fighting the woke mind virus crap. It's just a few Hollywood people stuck up their own arsehole. They're not all of America and all of the world and all of the West. I swear Hollywood has been so far up its own arse that they have potentially played a part in helping give their country away to fascism by involving themselves in dumb culture war shit that, again, I think has been more of a long-term gain from outside its sources. Sorry, she's not a silly bitch. That came off a bit hard. She's an exceptional individual, and we got a little off track there. Obviously, this whole debacle is very large in scope. What I'm getting at is, history is important that we learn it so we don't repeat the same mistakes our ancestors made. I feel like America, and therefore the West, to shortly follow after, are sleepwalking into fascism and some kind of techno-dystopian feudal society completely dominated by billionaires with no checks and no balances to top it off. Maybe some of those billionaires happen to be into the white white supremacy and neo-Nazism stuff, which again is concerning in the long term, especially for people interested in self-preservation that may be 1 or 2 shades brown. The clip I'm about to roll may seem like a cheap move to some viewers who will pull the whataboutism and gaslighting cards out because I made them feel guilty about themselves. But really I didn't. If you feel like you're supporting the wrong people in history, there's still time for you to change your outlook before you doom yourself and others around you into a world of serfdom to our new overlord kings in the digital age. This is a clip of a World War II veteran who passed away a few years ago. His name is Carl Deckley, and he's talking about the current state of America and its political climate.
Grass on the ground, that's beautiful. And people don't realize what they have. They bitch about it. And then nowadays, I am so upset that the things we did and the things we fought for and the boys that died for it, it's all gone down the drain. Our country's gone to hell in a handbasket. We haven't got the country we had when I was raised. Not at all. Nobody will have the fun I had. Nobody will have the opportunity I had. It's just not the same. That's not what I do. That's not what they died for. That's not it. No, I'm so sorry. I'll be all right. Just takes me time to get over it. Why me sitting here like this?
Speak your mind.
All this going on. Listen, it's just, Emily, it's just not the same. That isn't what we fought for.
Like I said, I didn't mean for it to be like to play that clip. I really don't mean for it to be like a cheap little gotcha bitch, but like it hits me right in the heart, man, to hear the words of a man from that generation who was in the Allied forces and played a part in saving the world from fascism speak like that. I feel like a great portion of people are disgracing those people that spilled blood to give them the cushy life they had the last, say, 80 years. It sounds dramatic, but if you stay with me in the video a little bit longer, things will start to make a little bit more sense.
The Spitfire hunted Germans over Britain and Europe during World War II, in the country's darkest hour, and against all odds, it fought off the Nazi war machine, etching itself into the heart of the nation.
Also, I'm going to reward you with another picture of a cat because shit did get really heavy, so here it is. That's actually possibly one of the most cute kittens so far. I think what hits really hard about that clip is that fascism's on the rise again, and it's winning all in the name of a bunch of idiots trying to stick it to the libtards or win a score against the woke mind virus, when there's just bigger chess pieces being moved here, and we're all equally getting fucked in the ass by billionaires. Again, tribalism, us versus them. I'm not making excuses for people not reading books, but I made a connection in my mind the other day why there seems to be such a disconnect with people and the past. Almost all of that generation have died, and their children are all in their late 70s and 80s or dead themselves. Most of the youth of today do not understand the threat of fascism and what evil and powerful men can do to the masses. Most people are obsessed with celebrity, drugs, video games, Instagram, whatever their bullshit dopamine of the day is. I have a much older mother, and therefore older grandparents who have now passed away. They were actually young adults when World War II was active. I'm a bit of a crossover in generations, I guess, and I was told many stories about what they went through. My English grandparents were civilians, and the Germans bombed the hell out of Britain. If you weren't in the army, you were working for the war effort as a civilian. My grandfather was in the coal mines, and my grandmother worked in a munitions factory. Her best friend was blown up in front of her during an air raid outside the factory. She went on antidepressants in her older life because of reliving trauma from the horror she experienced, even as a civilian. My Italian grandparents, that side of the family, they fled Italy to Australia after the war for a better life because Italy was left in ruin by the fascists. The stories are fresh for me. They were passed down. I know what fascism is capable of from these stories. The second-hand trauma, if you will. In Europe, a lot of what the Nazis did still reverberates today because it involved the civilian population. If you stop and think for a moment, in America, their civilian population, outside of the horrific event like 9/11, haven't really experienced an invasion or subjugation of their civilian population in recent history. In recent history. Calm down. I'm not saying you guys haven't experienced horrible shit, but think of the bigger picture here. Yes, there is PTSD that the soldiers bring back home, but generally speaking, the rest of the world, and particularly Europe, really experienced the true horrors of fascism. Family members being forced into conscription of the Wehrmacht army after the Germans annexed their country, or family members executed purely for their race or not stepping in line with the Nazis. I don't think Americans truly understand the dangers of fascism and authoritarian leaders. History, unfortunately, seems to be lost to time, even though the end of World War II was only 80 years ago.
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
What's the answer? What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet.
Excuse me, young man, but are you actually going to read that stuff?
Sure, why not? You heard what he said, didn't you?
Yes, I heard. But do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know, makes pretty good sense to me. I'm speaking to you as an American. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people. What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fellow's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies.
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you.
All right, so I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that.
The slaves have escaped! Run for your lives!
So we're making some progress.
I am yours to command. In Hoverine's name, it will be done. I've been watching you for a time.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boost, 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 boost. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boost, 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 boost. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the wall. Try to think of something different. People going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the wall. 7, 6, 11, 5, 4.
As of making this video, the MAGA cult and Elon Musk with his Department of Government Efficiency are stripping the United States clean. Lists of people investigating Elon or Donald Trump within the FBI are being forced out. All federal departments are either being wiped clean and replaced with loyalists to the MAGA cult or just straight up shut down. There is no due process or consulting between parties outside of tokenistic displays of democratic process. This is just complete authoritarian coup activity at this point.
We have to dive straight into our main story tonight. The fact that Donald Trump is once again President of the United States. Sorry if this is how you found out. Honestly, frankly, I'm not nuts about it either. Incredibly, it has been less than a month since Trump's inauguration, but it already feels like an eternity. In just the past 4 weeks, he's pardoned or commuted the sentences of January 6th rioters, withdrew the US from both the Paris Accords and the WHO, announced plans to take over Gaza, issued an executive order trying to undo birthright citizenship, blamed the fatal DC plane crash on DEI, renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Responded to fires in LA County by releasing billions of gallons of water to California's Central Valley, 150 miles away, replaced a 4-star general with the host of Fox and Friends as Secretary of Defense, and announced 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, a move prompting Canadians to do this.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get the heck! Get out!
A private citizen with no conflicts of interest, right? Who wasn't voted in by the people, is now the supreme leader of America and has unregulated and illegal access to the US Treasury. My American friend featured in the previous video still wants to remain anonymous because of fears of retribution from MAGA fanatics. But he simply messaged me asking the question, Spuddy, what the f*** is going on? And I simply responded with this one sound clip.
Well, it's all coming to plan, isn't it? Create world chaos, and in the ashes rises the phoenix. The Doge Empire, with this new god emperor. Springtime for Elon and America.
Elon and Donald Trumpelstiltskin are two peas in the pod. Trump is a felon doing everything he can to stay out of prison, and Elon Musk clearly has long-term motivations. To think he cannot be president or supreme ruler of a new America because the Constitution doesn't allow people who were not born in America to be president are being quite naive. They just changed birthright citizenship. Why can they not change anything else? You're putting a lot of faith in people with no checks or balances right now. The MAGA cult have the Senate, the Speaker, and the presidency. This is a very old system that requires the politicians to honor the rules. And if they don't, well, who will stop them, right? At this moment, the other party, those limp dick idiots called the Democrats who helped everyone get in this situation, are protesting with citizens at the time of making this video. They've tried to hold Elon Musk accountable the legal way, but unfortunately due to due process, it's all been gimped by time and whoever has the most money and influence. The scope of this video is already so big, so I'm going to keep the next part simple. Sir Donald Trump serves himself and built a MAGA cult through the cult of personality. Like our old friend Adolf, maybe their policies are not the same yet.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
But history rhymes in so many ways with his rise to power. Even the general public not taking Donald Trump seriously before 2016 and in recent times has a lot of parallels to Adolf Hitler not being taken seriously in the 1920s. Again, to anyone who's got a crayon lodged firmly up their nose, I'm not saying he is literally Adolf Hitler. I'm talking about the parallels. Ultimately, Trump is obsessed with power and serves him and himself alone. Elon Musk is obsessed with global power too, but has a more sinister and long-term strategy at play. Again, see the Dark MAGA video by Blonde Politics for a more in-depth view into our potential techno-dystopia that he and his other billionaire peers have in store for us. All things considered, Elon is still a young man in this long-term game. He's 52 years old. Donald Trump is 78. And dare I say it, he doesn't look his age because I can't fucking tell what age he is. He doesn't even look like our species anymore. He looks like a fucking fruit. With what federal departments are left, they are replacing them with loyalists and people that are unqualified and complete clowns. I know that sounds like partisan talk about like, this guy's not qualified for the job, blah, blah, blah. Genuinely, I'm objectively looking at these people and this is just scary shit, you know? Like even as an outsider from America, you're just like, what the hell, man?
There have been, as I understand it, dozens of studies done all over the world that make it very clear that vaccines do not cause autism. Now, you just said, if I heard correctly, well, if the evidence is there. The evidence is there. That's it. Vaccines do not cause autism. Do you agree with that?
As I said, I'm not going to go into HHS with any preordained.
I asked you a simple question, Bobby. Studies all over the world say it does not. What do you think?
I do believe that autism does come from vaccines. Senator, if you show me those studies, I will absolutely, as I promised to Chairman Cassidy, I will apologize.
That is a very troubling response because the studies are there. Your job was to have looked at those studies as an applicant for this job. All right.
I can only imagine that these choices have been made and these people are picked to keep the media in a circus focused on their ineptitude, while Elon and Trump are up to their neck in more sinister activities behind the scenes.
So my question to you is, were the scientists who told us that the COVID vaccine was imperative, and President Trump who told us that it was this great thing, were they right, or were you right when you told people that they should not take COVID shots?
Senator, I filed that lawsuit after CDC recommended the vaccine for 6-year-old children without any evidence that it would benefit them and without testing on 6-year-old children. And that was my reason for filing that lawsuit.
Was the COVID vaccine successful in saving millions of lives?
I don't know. We don't have a good surveillance system, unfortunately.
We don't know?
I don't think anybody can say that. If you show me science that says that.
You know, Bob, you say if I show you, you're applying for the job. I mean, clearly